I'm standing here in downtown Fort Worth at First Christian Church. It was built in 1915. It's got beautiful stained glass. It's got a beautiful rotunda where the sunlight comes in and reminds people every Sunday of the presence of God and His face shining upon them. The church was actually founded in 1855 in a home, and it's been in downtown Fort Worth since then to remind people of the stark contrast between the fear of God and the fear of this life, the life under the sun versus the life over the sun. And as we conclude this series, The Good Life, as we look at the wisdom that we find in the book of Ecclesiastes, we're going to look to chapter 12 today to see what it really means to fear God, to submit and to surrender to His sovereignty and to His control. And we're going to turn there to chapter 12, verse 11. And it says this, that the words of the wise are like goads. That word goad is the idea of prodding the cattle. It's this idea of what a rancher or a cattle man would do with his cattle to move them along. And it says the nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. And so we see that the words of the wise, that the words of wisdom are like the prod that moves us along. It's allowing us to walk and navigate this world. And see, this church is in downtown Fort Worth. Surrounding this church is buildings that are full of consumerism, materialism, and wealth, and all the things that we've been talking about chasing under the sun, all the things that we think bring us value, that we think bring us satisfaction and fulfillment and joy, but they're all just a vapor. This church is standing in stark contrast to that to remind us that all of the good life really is about fearing God. Because look at this next verse in verse 12. It says, "My son, beware of anything beyond these." Beware of anything beyond the words of the shepherd, the wisdom of God. Anything that is beyond that, beware of that. Why? Because of making many books, there is no end. There is so much wisdom in this world. There's so many books, there's so many philosophies, there's so many theories, there's so many self-help books, there's so many things to help you discover yourself and discover your fulfillment, to find joy, there's so many things written, there's so much other wisdom out there. What he is saying to us today, what he is saying even to his readers then, was that there is only one place to find fulfillment. There's only one place to find out the meaning of life, to find the good life, and it says it right here. He says, "Then much study as a weariness of the flesh. Instead, the end of the matter is this." Verse 13, "All has been heard, so fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of mankind." Fear God and keep His commandments. You see, we have a lot of fears in our life. We've spent this whole series talking about that. We have the fear of provision, and so we chase after wealth. We have the fear of not measuring up to other people, so we want to consume more things and have material possessions to make us feel better about ourselves or compare ourselves to others. And we work on beauty to make ourselves look younger, more fit. We chase after all these things. We compare our families to other families through social media and Instagram. We have so much fear in this world that we're afraid of. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of living an unfulfilled life. We're afraid of not having any purpose. We're afraid of all these things. And we're chasing all of them, chasing those bubbles that just evaporate as soon as we get them. We're chasing all these vapors under the sun. He says, listen, all that wisdom that's out there that's trying to help you find meaning, that's trying to help you discover the good life, that's trying to help you find fulfillment, actually leads to insanity. It leads to vanity. It leads to just this life being under the sun, and it's just over and done. Then what? He says all of this comes down to this one thing, to fear God. So we take our fear of all this stuff in this world under the sun, and instead we submit and surrender and trust God, who is actually in control, who is actually sovereign, who actually is wisdom. That there's wisdom that comes from this idea of not chasing after the philosophies of man, but actually surrendering and submitting to God. So he says, fear God. Why? Fear God for this, and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of mankind. Fear God, keep His commandments. In other words, the good life is found in submitting and surrendering to the will of God. The good life is found, the meaning of life is found in surrendering and submitting to the will of God. This book that He's given us, all 66 of them, the Bible has shown us the ways of God, and then we follow the ways of God and submit and surrender to His control. It leads to the good life, that we find meaning in life. We find fulfillment even when we're poor. we find satisfaction even when we're suffering, that we find joy even in the midst of circumstances and storms because we are surrendered and submitted. We're fearing God, a healthy fear of awe and worship and acknowledgement that He is creator and sustainer, provider, deliverer, healer, that He is all those things in our lives. And we can rest upon that, rest upon His presence and find in Him the satisfaction, fulfillment, and meaning of life. We can discover the good life, and it goes way beyond anything under the sun. It's actually over the sun, and that's where God and His kingdom transcends everything in this earth, and we get to experience the good life. The true meaning of life is found in fearing God and keeping His commandments. That is why we exist. That's what God created us for Him, for His presence, and for His kingdom, which is why nothing under the sun will ever bring us satisfaction or fulfillment. Let's live the good life. Let's chase the good life. Let's chase His presence. Let's chase God and His commandments and keep them. And let's trust what He is telling us and what He is calling us to do will bring us the good life that we all truly desire.